Sam, co-founder of Everpedia, and now also PredIQt, which is the Everpedia knowledge market that we're launching on the EOS mainnet. You know, for people unfamiliar, what PredIQt is at its core, it is a prediction market, but that's not how we like to think about it. We call it a knowledge market because the idea is that one, it's highly modular, and I'll get to what that means in a bit. And then two, the whole reason, you know, that we built PredIQt basically is to have Everpedia and kind of the knowledge economy move into the DeFi space, which I personally think is the is kind of the next big leap forward, so to speak, for crypto. A lot of the largest volume, value locked in, and things like that will come from the DeFi space instead of just the utility token space, in my opinion, in the next 12 to 24 months. What makes PredIQt different than anything else, such as Augur? Obviously, there's similarities and things like that. Is there's a lot of design decisions that we've made that make this unlike anything else that exists. We have a highly modular protocol level design where you can create markets that mix and match a lot of different things. So for example, you can denominate markets in any token. Right now we're encouraging the IQ token, but you can denominate markets in EOS, which we actually have some live markets in EOS as well. You can denominate them in some stable coin. And then you can pick the resolution method. Actually, the resolution method is just a smart contract, right? And so you can point when you create a market, which anyone can do. It's a permissionless protocol. When you create your market, you can point it at any smart contract that's a PredIQt resolution method. So you can create your own. So for example, let's say you have sole authority, centralized authority to close the market, or you can actually have a block producer multi-sig, which we actually developed that contract and we launched it, so people don't even have to make it. The other one that we're promoting right now is an IQ token resolution, where IQ token holders vote on the resolution of it. You can think of this as it's totally different from Augur, because Augur, everything goes through that rep token resolution method. This is a higher order protocol with PredIQt, and anyone can build markets that basically adhere to their own rules. And then it's for the participants as choice whether they want to participate in that or not, right? So you have a market that's resolved by one or two accounts. So you might want to think twice about participating in that market. You have a market that's resolved by the sum total of all IQ token holders. You will probably be a little bit more trusting of the fact that it's harder to gain. So it's a very economic, expensive resolution method to gain. For example, January 2018, Everpedia did its main announcement that they were going to airdrop 51% of the IQ tokens to all the EOS token holders. And then when the mainnet was released in June, we were, I believe, one of, if not truly the first, main launched decentralized application in early July. We did our airdrop and we launched the network in July 2018. And since then, we've been building. Everpedia has been growing, and we've been trying to expand the idea of knowledge on chain and bringing market dynamics to knowledge, whether it's decentralized wiki articles, decentralized knowledge markets, which is kind of what I'm excited to talk about here. And it's been a really fast-paced journey, and I think we have a lot of really interesting, exotic financial innovation to do in this chapter of Everpedia's growth.
EOS USA here to help in any way that we can, as always.
Yeah, and no, we'd love to. I think there's a lot of things where the community, block producers, as well as just a lot of the EOS greater community to actually help and participate in here. It's one thing to have, this decentralized knowledge base, which is what Everpedia is, that people come and make pages, they, curate some of the content, but it's another thing to basically participate in any kind of market, literally anything from, prices of cryptocurrencies, events, as well as participating in the resolution of these markets. And it's actually very, very ripe with opportunities of involvement, collecting fees, just like a lot of cool ways to make money, participate, and have big roles.
When I was explaining it to my guys, about how, you got the creator, you've got the referral, you've got the resolver, all those different pieces that should help, naturally, organically try to generate that promotion and reward those accordingly. So,
and that's what makes it really interesting, because we have a lot of cool plans to kind of just embed this knowledge market layer in a bunch of places that would really make use of it. And so one of the things we're doing is we're building PredIQt, which is just a JavaScript framework that allows embedding these markets, like how you would embed a tweet in your website or something. And you can basically have people participate in pretty much anything, right? In literally arbitrary markets that are embedded in your blog and, in your podcast or anything like that. And like you said, for Michael, then they get the resolution fees if they participate in the resolution, or the referral fees, and if they're the creator, then they get the creator fees as well. So it's pretty economically, interesting for a lot of participants. Okay.
correct.
Cool. So this is PredIQt. This is the home page, and these are all of the markets here, obviously, and we have a lot of different ways to filter them. You can filter them by different currencies. There's EOS markets, there's IQ token markets, and right now we're really encouraging IQ token markets, and I think it's going to be a really, really big thing. But like I said, anyone can create markets denominated in anything. Right now, we just don't really display it on our front end. That doesn't mean the protocol level doesn't support it. In fact, eventually we will roll out, arbitrary tokens being viewed on the PredIQt front end. You can also just sort them by any way you want to see any of these. One of the cool things is, let's take a look at what a market looks like. So this is obviously a price market for Binance Coin at the end of the month. And you can see here, obviously, the historical prices of the shares. Will it be above or below $15 by the end of the month? It's pretty simple price market. And you can kind of see most of the sentiment has been yes, up and down, obviously, depending on, the crypto movement. There's pretty good volume on this one, actually. So we're very excited and interested to see where this goes, because this is one of our first IQ denominated markets. You can purchase shares, limit or market order. It's pretty self-explanatory. It'll tell you the payout for them, and depending on the price and the number of shares. And then here it's just clear description of the market, how it works, what the price is asking, and what the definition kind of price and $15 and all this stuff is. And then a clear description of the resolution method, what source it's looking for, and all of this stuff. This is obviously created and written by the market creator, which for this market is actually me, because it was the first market to test, and I didn't think it would actually get this popular, but so I actually wrote this. And then the PredIQt resolution method is exactly what we talked about, where IQ token holders for the IQ res method vote, and actually there's a system of slashing and voting for which outcome is going to occur at the end of the month here. And then the token, the market's denominated in, obviously, and then the fee structure, right? The fee structure, how much fees go to who. Obviously, referral link, pretty self-explanatory. there's a 1% value that goes back to all of the referrers. And here you just check your the trade history of the market itself, and then the market order book. So it's a pretty streamlined, very efficient, and no nonsense interface. And it's pretty easy to understand. We're actually going to roll out some UX design decisions that I think will make it even more simpler, which allows you to kind of just place bets on the outcome without having to really go through order books and odds, unless you really want to. Unless you really want to, give your limit prices or anything like that. Some people just want to say, yeah, I think Binance coin will be above $15 by the end of the month. Give me all the yes. Give me all the yes shares, and however much I win, I'll take it. We're going to optimize for that kind of behavior, because I think a lot of what's cool about, this being a knowledge market is people want to say their knowledge, not to calculate deep financial, order book depth on their optimum winning, right? These are knowledge markets. We want to see the market's knowledge about any of these events. So we also have a leaderboard. So if you earn a lot of profits and get a lot of things right, you'll be here. And then you can check markets, create them. These are your open proposals, and then profile is pretty full featured. So you'll see all of your shares. You can transfer them, right? These shares are actually just tokens. They're NFT tokens. So that's what's really exciting about this is you can transfer them. You can sell them to people on secondary markets. You can actually create a DEX for predict shares off market on the secondary market. Predict shares. So that's actually really interesting and makes this whole thing an extra layer of complexity and depth to it. Your open orders for markets, filled orders, and obviously referrals and market proposals. So it's a pretty full-featured system, but I like to think that everything makes a lot of sense. We took a lot of time to think about how things wouldn't need too much explaining, right? Like not too much technical jargon, not too many weird lingo or financial products and stuff like that. So we have obviously some presidential as well, political markets. And what's really cool is there's finally, enough volume, which is still pretty low. I'd like to see, 10x, 20x, 30x these volumes once everyone's aware of Predict. But what's really awesome is you can see, this is why we call it knowledge markets, right? You can see the market's, current mood about what the odds of all these things are, right? So it's like here, it's about 10% or something like that Elizabeth Warren will be the VP. Obviously, it'll go up and down based on active information, news and everything. But that's what's really cool is it's already working, right? It's already showing a lot of the market sentiment and knowledge, and that's what's really exciting about the whole thing. So, yeah, that's kind of a really brief run through, and the fact that you can kind of get the whole gist in like 5-6 minutes is also what's really cool. That was our goal with making it simple, effective, interesting, and lucrative. So everyone just needs to know in the EOS community and DeFi space that this exists. It's really exciting and interesting, and it's kind of like as soon as everyone knows it works well, I think it'll be huge.
And we'll user adoption.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, I want to say I'm excited to see how far y'all have made it so far. I know the Predict resolution or the IQ resolution, is that live or is that almost live? I think, was it yesterday? When was it?
Yeah, so we actually just released the finalized, if you go on Predict right now, it says Predict Beta, but we really released the finalized version of what is the Predict protocol, essentially. Now, it can always be, added to by the community. New resolution methods can be deployed. But yes, the IQ resolution method is deployed as a smart contract. You can select that as a resolution if you create a market. There's also the block producer multi-sig resolution method that we've also created. If anyone in the community is interested in, building their own resolution method, whether it's a different token or whether it's a novel way to resolve something that even we haven't really thought of, we'd love to, help out and guide people where we can. It's a pretty modular system, and so all of the features are released. There's some decent markets. There's already one market with about 380,000 IQ of volume, and there's just more and more being made every day. And one thing that's really cool about it is that it's a very, very IQ token heavy. So as volume goes up, the whole system is powered by the IQ utility token. So to create markets, you burn IQ. And so the reason for that is so there's an incentive to create good markets instead of just spamming the entire protocol with just anything. And then the tokens are used for resolving currently. So IQ token holders earn resolution fees. And then they're also used as the tokens for the actual market. So the buying shares in IQ. Eventually there'll be more tokens as well, but I think IQ will always be the predominant token probably used in the protocol.
Makes sense. Glad I got a few.
Yeah, I mean the market, the macro market for crypto has been all over the place, as I'm sure everyone's seen. And then with this whole Corona pandemic.
Hey, it could be worse. It could be oil.
Yeah, it could be negative. I mean,
I'll pay you to take my Bitcoin.
Yeah, if any crypto ever ends up trading at negative value, that'll be the day. But
yeah, they said that about oil.
Right.
Anyway,
but yeah, so I think that, like you said, it could be worse, but the markets in crypto in the last 12 months haven't been particularly great. I actually think, contrary to what a lot of people think, I'm actually fairly bullish in the next 6 to 12 months for crypto, even if there's going to be a slight recession in terms of the global economy or things like that, because I think that there's a lot of consolidation going on with the crypto ecosystem, and things are becoming more and more sound in terms of their economics. So I think that the stuff that actually has real economic activity, the tokens that make sense, things like Ethereum's DeFi ecosystem, the growing DeFi and financial products on EOS, those are things that actually have, users that are paying things, they're paying fees, people are participating, the economics make sense, and then those things are growing. And so I actually think that for tokens that have things that make sense, like IQ, for chains that have actual activity like Ethereum and EOS, it's going to be pretty bullish, I think, in the next 6 to 12 months, in my opinion.
Well, like I say, I mean, the global, between the recession, the pandemic, and then of course the halving, I mean, that has really just kind of got everything wonky. But in my conversations with my CEO, he said, what are we looking at, for the future, in my opinion? I said, 6 months, let's see how the dust kind of settles in the next 6 months. These technologies that, we've been developing for years now, right? I mean, we're almost on year 2 of EOS, right? So, I mean, ideas take a little while to progress. So.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I think there's a lot of stuff happening with Block One, even though they're always quiet and working on stuff. But now we hear stuff happening with voice, and then Dan, I think, just tweeted yesterday that they're working on cross EOSIO communication for like private enterprise EOSIO chains, which it's about time, but at least now we know that they're fixing that problem, right?
I've had this conversation with Clay a long time, is about my desire. Of course, we're everywhere and run all the chains, so IBC is near and dear to me, and actually been working on some of the IBC projects. So there are some tokens starting to fly around, and then yep, Block One's got a what was it, the bounty or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
but I mean, that's like you say, is that it's about time. I mean, hadn't that always been the, would you want one chain at 1,000 miles an hour or 1,000 chains at 100 miles an hour?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, I think
And it's
whatever
cool.
solution Dan brings up is going to be top tier. So that's why I'm pretty excited for it. So.
Right. Well, and I also think, I mean, some of these EOS chains, or EOSIO based chains, I mean, you're starting to get, your niche markets, so to say. I mean, we're involved with several of them that, it's not like, look, we're not a general purpose chain. We do identity, or we do security, or, I mean, so you're getting more of that use case for, well, why do you need IBC? So this chain and that chain can, I mean, so PredIQt can start using the ACON or ID KYC or whatever. I don't know. I mean, but things like that, just really developing it to the next level. So.
No, it's going to be really interesting because Voice is going to have their own chain, at least to start out with. And then if there is connectivity, then the EOS mainnet benefits from a lot of activity on any EOS IO chain. So it's going to be, like I said, I think in the next 6 to 12 months, there's going to be really big plays, and it'll be cool to see how it turns out. And with us, we actually have a lot of big things coming because, like I was saying, I think with Everpedia and PredIQt, we're taking a really big leap forward into the DeFi, marketplace basically. And obviously it's going to be with a flavor of knowledge markets and decentralized market dynamics around knowledge prediction and things like that. But we're not going to like offer compound based loans or something like that. It's not really part of Everpedia's direct vision, but we're going to be pretty big players in the DeFi space. So I'm kind of happy to come online here and announce that really for the first time. And we're really looking at it a lot. So for example, even as PredIQt grows, we're looking to integrate pretty interesting stuff like leveraged markets, for example. So you can have even bigger exposure to some event rather than just purchasing shares at 1-to-1 with your IQ or something like that. And just all of these kinds of things that DeFi is known for and is actually getting a lot of volume. And so we're going to be, I'm confident to say we're going to be a large player. I don't want to say largest, we haven't even started yet, but very large player in the DeFi EOS ecosystem, and probably even more cross-chain, like we just said.
Yeah, well, like I say, excited to see where it goes. I mean, we'll be right there alongside with you. So happy to run servers or services or sign MSIGs and resolve markets.
Yeah, no, I mean, what one thing we're trying to do to make sure with all of these designs is there's going to be a lot of incentives to do that, right? I mean, one of the main things with good crypto economic design is, we love you guys and people love the Everpedia community, but it's not just out of kindness, that people sign these things or participate in them. It's a good market design, right? It's good crypto economic design. So as we build all these things, whether it's like leveraged prediction markets, just normal predict markets, different resolution methods, the main thing we're really going to focus on is making sure people have the proper incentives to participate, get paid, earn, the interest or the fees that they deserve, right? And so that's what's going to be really exciting. Our designs are going to be very, I think, very incentivizing for a lot of people to not only try out but to be active players in.
Leave it to the creative juices of the creators. I mean, what you want. I mean, and yeah, I didn't even realize the whole bolting in your own smart contract. I mean, that's just a whole nother level of a freedom, I guess, so to say.
Yeah, it's basically build your own, Legos kind of for this DeFi, prediction market. One of the things is, people talk about DeFi stuff as financial building blocks. So, you've got like on Ethereum, you've got the compound stuff, you've got the lending, and then now you've got some futures and leverage and things like that. if we're building a knowledge market, if we're building, Everpedia's DeFi ecosystem, the first thing we have to think about is, okay, how do we build things as Lego pieces? We don't want to build a very stringent prediction market where you can only do one kind of market, one kind of resolution. How do you make things, each of them, a building block so that you can build on top of it later? You can have leverage market, different tokens, different resolutions.
People don't realize it's a whole different ball game to build a product as opposed to a framework, which a modular is more of a framework. I mean, it's easy to hard code it to go down this line and get from A to B, but if you want to pick a letter and go where you want, that's a whole different,
Exactly. So I think a lot of devs will understand that, so they'll be excited to give it a go. And then when we when we release PredIQt and more documentation and open up a lot of stuff, it's going to be really interesting.
Any other great tidbits or?
I mean, with Everpedia, things are going really well with the actual site, and the communities are growing. You can even, one of the cool things is I always like to wake up in the morning, click the activity tab on Everpedia, and just see some of the edits coming in and things like that. And one of the cool things is we're expanding to a few different languages that, there's always been a large community in those, but they haven't had their dedicated front ends, basically, fully built out, deployed, and released. And we're expanding to, the Chinese and Korean communities, which have always existed, and then they've been really, really big. But we're actually pushing out a lot more support and new software there. And then with the tokens, one of the cool things is I think we're finally seeing a lot of good token economics, because a lot of the original, stuff like Steam, stuff like Everpedia have similar consumer token mechanics. And so sometimes it feels like, at the beginning, oh, you're just printing tokens and incentivizing people and rewarding them and stuff. But one of the things is now that things are really taking off and people are staking tokens, some people that are trying to attack the content or whatever, some of them are getting slashed. People are starting to burn IQ tokens for predict creation markets and stuff like that. We're actually pretty close to being deflationary. I don't think people have really realized it yet, because no one really does a deep dive into, how much tokens are getting minted and burned. But one of the cool things is I think in the coming weeks, and we'll actually say it so people can realize, but I think the token is going to be fairly deflationary as things ramp up, and PredIQt hasn't even really ramped up yet, even at all. Yeah.
That's what, like I say, I saw those, IQ burned for market creation, and it's just burned in our world is that's a whole nother tokenomics path. So yeah, it definitely caught my eye to you're burning tokens to be able to create the markets.
Yeah, and that value just goes back to all the IQ token holders, right? If you're holding IQ and then a lot of IQ is getting burned or slashed or anything like that, and the circulating supply is going down, the value just gets evenly distributed to anyone who basically has IQ. So that's kind of the design here, and that, we could have built PredIQt where, that fee goes to us or the protocol creators or something like that. But that wasn't the goal. The goal was to basically accrue as much of the decentralized value that's coming from any of these participants in all of these ecosystems just to the utility token, essentially.
Well, like I say, I love to see where everything's going to go, and glad to have you on your show and get some information out. Look forward to the next time that we can have you on and get some info out. So I guess until next time.
Thanks, really appreciate it. It's always awesome to be on, and next time I think we'll have some really exciting, even brand new features to talk about. So thanks so much.